Harry's wife. The Netflix Ultimatum. Ginge and Whinge were given huge contracts. He is thick, she is empty, but together they decided that they would be a content force to be reckoned with. She made Arsey Wipes the most boring beige hit list of remedying grievances of the world had ever had the misfortune to hear. He occasionally appeared in Harry and Harry's Wife, a shitflix production. Spotify said, "Fuck you!" And now, in the biggest threat to their supremacy since Harry's wife realized Harry isn't a billionaire, there now comes the Netflix Ultimatum. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Things haven't been going very well for Harry's wife. Such a shame. Not only is she hugely unpopular, completely lacking in talent, and an unpleasant individual, the deals and the sponsorship are starting to dry up, and the existing deals are coming under scrutiny, and, with that, pressure for her to deliver. TMZ reports, Harry and Harry's wife reportedly given Netflix ultimatum. Make better crap or no dollars. Harry's wife and Prince Harry are being put over a barrel at Netflix because they're apparently on the verge of losing millions unless they pivot, so says a new report. According to The Sun, Netflix honchos have recently had a conversation with the ex-royal couple, supposedly telling them to make better must-see content, or risk not getting the rest of their $100 million plus contract, which they've already gotten about half of at this point. Now, pausing there, what have they delivered for $50 million so far? The Harry and Harry's Wife series. Pearl was ditched. The Invictus Games is likely to appear, or the Harry's Wife's Games as she tried to make it. Beyond that, what else have they produced for Netflix? And they're getting half of the money already. Netflix has already had its pants pulled down in relation to these two. You would think that they would follow Spotify and say, enough's enough. We're not spending any more money with these two idiots. But the suggestion is that they have been told you need to get your shit together and produce better must-see content. This presents a massive problem for Harry and Harry's wife. With regard to Harry, he's really not that interested in all of this. He'd rather play Call of Duty on his PlayStation, run around in his bare feet on the beach, and occasionally get his tummy tickled and his pods emptied. Harry's wife, of course, wants the money as a residual benefit, but because of her sense of entitlement, just believes she should be given it because of who she is, rather than actually having to work for it. She believes that the money should come to her, irrespective of what she does. And the difficulty that she has is she has no talent. She is not now going to be able to sit down and suddenly come up with an absolutely brilliant idea. She just lacks that capability, a combination of her low cognitive function and the emptiness within her. The problem is also, is that it's not like she's going to be able to get somebody else to do it for her. A combination of not being well liked, people not really wanting to work for her any longer, and the fact that she can't stand to take advice from anybody else because her narcissism always regards this as a threat to control. Thus, whenever anybody comes up with a good idea, she will poo-poo it because it didn't come from her. The article continues by explaining, the reported conditions have been set, namely, Harry's wife and Harry must produce higher quality shows, docs, and or movies to claim the rest of their bag. And if they don't, Netflix is prepared to cut their deal short and refuse to pay them out in full. Thus, they're essentially being given a final warning. The Sun goes on to say, citing an unnamed source claimed to be plugged in, Netflix was happy with the results for their bombshell doc, but have been disappointed about everything after that. Well, they haven't really done much after that, so it's understandable that they have been disappointed. And this presumably includes Prince Harry's forthcoming Invictus docuseries, which apparently is still happening and coming out around August. Anything else, though, is nowhere to be found. The report notes Harry's wife pitched an idea for an animated series about a girl inspired by historical female figures. I wonder who that could have been about. But apparently that got dropped by Netflix. It would seem they didn't think it was compelling, a recurring theme we're now hearing about them as creatives. Let's get one thing straight. Harry and Harry's wife are many things, but creatives they are not. Harry's a dimwit. He doesn't have much in the way of an imagination, and he doesn't really have much of a work ethic either. With Harry, the best thing with him is to say, Harry, go and do this, or Harry, go and do that. Go and dig a hole over there. Go and speak to those children over there. Roll up your sleeves and get in amongst the graft, building a well in Africa. Those types of things. And he'll take that direction and he'll get on with it. Harry doesn't want to think too much. It makes his head hurt, and it causes it to overheat. That's why the royal family suited him so much, because he didn't have to think, he just had to turn up and do. Point him in a direction and away he goes, having whispered in his ear what he needs to say. That's part of the reason why Harry's wife selected him. It makes him so easy to control. She just tells him what to do and he gets on with it. But if you ask Harry, come up with some good ideas, he suggests that he would be able to interview Putin. Harry's wife, of course, her problem is she believes that she can do everything, and the evidence shows that she can hardly do anything. She thinks that she's a powerhouse of imagination, that she's able to pump out content in the same way that she issues lies from her mouth. But of course, she can't. She has no imagination, not much of a work ethic. At best, you plagiarize the material from other people. Creative, she is not. The article continues by stating, now on the prospect of potentially cutting them loose unless they deliver, the Sun's source says the streaming giant wouldn't do it as publicly humiliatingly as Spotify did. However, they do concede it would grab big headlines in and of itself and probably be a bad luck. No word on a timetable for them to make good on their deal, but it sounds like the clock is ticking for them. Gotta say, this is not great news for Harry and Harry's wife. It would seem that wherever they've inked big-time deals, the companies have been unsatisfied. Those that signed them up basically sought to trade on their names, believing that they would have gossip about the royal family and that people would be interested because he's Prince Harry and she's his wife. What they didn't reckon on was such a whinge fest that people would become bored with very quickly, and they really ought to have realised, and this is a fault on the part of both Spotify and Netflix, they really ought to have realised that these two wouldn't be able to produce anything meaningful. The article continues by stating, they're already filthy rich as it is, but if their Hollywood prospects are cut short, that could seriously impact their financial futures in the long run. so they've kind of got to get with it on the ideas. Boy, it sure has been an illuminating week on the Sussexes, hasn't it? Accordingly, Netflix issued the ultimatum, couched in the usual style of TMZ, namely, get your shit together or you're out. It'll be interesting to see how long Netflix patience lasts. They're under pressure with falling subscribers, and the unpopularity of Harry's wife is not going to help. But they've got nothing else to offer. More of the same? Well, she'll try and do that because her delusion believes that people will want to hear it. Even Harry will probably start to get bored of trotting out the same old rubbish. He would only do so as a consequence of the threat of having his pods tasered. This is the ultimatum. Create better material. It isn't going to happen. And therefore, as the magnificent Depeche Mode once sang, it's just a question of time, and it's running out for you. It will not be long before Netflix severs its involvement with Harry and Harry's wife, which will be another massive blow to Harry's wife in terms of a huge threat to control. It will cause substantial wounding, which will then be amplified by the fact that so many people will comment upon it and report upon it. And it will wrench away from her that ever so significant residual benefit of money, one which matters so much to her. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.